at Crafty Hope, and I decided to make some fun little wall hangings with some stamps I have. Now these, I've got a ton of Halloween stamps, and I just happened to pick this one set that I really love. It's from Michaels. It's a couple of years old. I don't know. I think it's a Recollections one, and I don't know if they still make it or not, but I love the images for this. So I'm also using some 5x7 canvas boards. Now these are some of the ones that you can find right now at the Dollar Tree. Seriously, 2 packs of them each for $1. I hadn't really figured out what I wanted to do with them, so this is what I decided on. So I've taken my stamps and some StazOn ink and my little Tim Holtz stamping platform, and I am just inking up my stamps with my black StazOn and getting my images on these white, what are they, tags. So, and those I think are just from Tuesday Morning. I don't even know what brand they are, but I'm working. I'm gonna show you for most of these steps just one of the ways I did it, like, because I just did it 4 times over or so. But here, this way I'm letting you see what the 4 stamps are that I used. Now I had a little trouble here. I think my next one is the kitty stamp. um and I had a little trouble with it, so I'm gonna have to do it twice. The first one just didn't come out, and I'll go over it again a second time. Usually the stamping platform does a really good job of letting me get the stamps really clear, but you can see I had trouble there, so that was 2, and so I inked it again, and I'm gonna do 3, and it's still not coming out. 4, so I finally, and here's, I'm inking it again. 5, and it just wasn't come filling in there, so I cleaned it off a little bit with my finger, and I'm going to redo that stamp. But the platform tends to be pretty effective for getting a nice clear image. So I moved that stamp over because it was right in that corner edge where I was having trouble, and I had much more success with it because I could get a little more leverage on it there. So I've got these 4 images on my cards, and we're going to go over to these canvas boards. Like I said, they're from the Dollar Tree, and they just come wrapped in plastic. So I'm taking that plastic off and laying them out and making sure. I don't know what I was doing. I was having trouble getting the plastic off there. Um, so once I get those out, I know that the first thing I want to do is what did I want to do? I wanted to collage some paper down. I think that's what I'm fixing to do. Actually, no, I'm going to grab some distress stains. I'm pulling out here's my paper for you to see the ephemera and book pages and underpapers and whatever else that I had just sitting in a like a little bag I've got over here next to my desk, and I pulled out some things that I thought had some good age to them and vintage, and would just be kind of fun to have in the background for these spooky wall hangings. So yeah, I'm sure this is real boring for y'all, but I want you to see what I'm working with. It's just a nice little sack. Oh, there is some what is that stuff? Drywall tape. I can't remember if I used it or not. We'll see. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is pull out my distress stains. These are just shades of brown. Like I said, I just wanted to give everything kind of a spooky age feel. And so I'm inking up the edges of these real simple. These are like daubers. They're from Tim Holtz. I don't think they make them anymore. And I have trouble finding ways to use them. So I thought this was going to be a real great use of them. So these are just a couple shades of like brown and gray that I'm putting on there. And then I'm using a wet paintbrush to just kind of meld them together, make it a little more yummy and less standoutish. Now I did take here in a second, I think, a baby wipe. I thought, oh, that might help me blend it, and really it just kind of wiped all of my color off. So I'm going to go back over it with the distress stains and the wet paintbrush again, and that's what I end up doing for the other 3 of these canvas boards. But I'm not going to show you all 3 of these because really it's just the same thing. So once those were all dry, I took some of this Dr. P.H. Martin's ink that I had, and it's just another brown. I think it's discontinued because I got it on clearance, and I put that on there and sprayed a little bit of water. And the water did 2 things. It helped that brown run, but it also gave some like water spots to that distress stain, which I thought was so awesome. So I did that again for all 3 of them. And then I've got some Heidi Swap spray in black, and I'm just going to real quick spray all 4 of these. I'm going to show you all 4 because it goes really quickly. I just put like a single spray on there. And that fine mist of that spray is going to come into play here later, towards the end of this process. But those were still wet. I didn't dry them or anything. And I do have them off to the side drying while I'm going to work here on my little tags. Now I decided just to add minimal color to each of these tags. Each of them are going to get a single color that are kind of Halloween related. And this first one with the ghost, he is getting an orange. And I'm just using watercolor crayons. I think most of them are the Inktense watercolor crayons, and then I've got one Reeves that I'll use in a little bit. So that pumpkin that goes with the pumpkin got orange. This cat is going to get yellow, and that's kind of going to be the theme for each of these hangings. And then I've got that neat raven that says Nevermore, and that's the one I use the Reeves with. It's a really nice plum purple, and he's got like a ruffle around his neck, and so that's where that color is going to come in there. I wanted to make them cohesive if they were used as a grouping, but also nice enough to stand on their own. And then this, some kind of like a gesture pumpkin face thing, I used like a lime green. And I'm just using a water brush to go in and activate that watercolor and make those colors just kind of blend and pop. Now I'm going to go back to my canvas boards here and my ephemera, and I am taking some matte gel medium and a big old paintbrush, and I'm just going to start collaging those papers down. Now I did try again, I want these to be fairly cohesive, so I'm using the same 4 types of paper on each, the same types of paper on all 4 of these canvas boards. So there was a little piece of some kind of paper, like just notebook paper that had been written on, like it's really old. There's another really old piece of notebook paper. There's book text. And I was showing you there that that little stack of notebook papers there had been like pinned together with a straight pin that had rusted, which is super cool. So I thought that was neat. So I've got there's a time book paper there, and what else am I going to use? There's some music paper. Like I said, as I'm using these, I'm keeping little bits of them off to the side so that I can include those in the other canvas boards. And that's some dictionary paper there. What else are I using? That's a handwritten letter. I looked up and scored a stack of them at an antique store here, not about a year ago, but I love it. All right, so there's all 4 of them, all dry and done. And next is going to come something super fun, and that is going to use the Deco Arts Media Crackle Paste. Now I start by trying to use this silicone brush thing, but I didn't like the super straight line that it gave me, so I am going to pull out a palette knife and scrape it all over my canvas boards right there on top. Now, I know you think it's crazy that I've added all these layers. I'm just covering things up, but it really, I don't know. But something about the layers for me, it gives everything to this. So while that crackle paste is crackling, I like to let it air dry. You get a better crackle. I am going in with a Neo Color 2 in brown around the outside of my stamped images. And now this is again, these cards are white, and something about going around the outside of these not only gives it a little bit of age, but makes the whites on this card look so much whiter, and the rest of the card, you think it's aged or brown or like a manila card. It's such a really cool effect. So I went around the image, and then I'm going to also go around the outside of the card and around the little hole at the top. And again, I'm using my water brush to activate those and kind of blend it out a little bit to get it across the card. And it works beautifully. You can already see here how that ghost looks like completely white, and the card itself looks aged or manila or whatever. It's super cool. Now I'm going to add a couple places where I didn't get in there initially, and then I'm going to repeat again on all of my cards. And don't those look cool? I love that. I love that one pencil did all of that. Now this is a Tim Holtz tool from Ranger Tonic, and it just distresses the edges. You can do the same thing with a pair of scissors, or you can leave them alone, but I'm trying to make these all look kind of aged. And then to make sure, because I know I'm going to put those on those layered backgrounds, I did ink the edges with my StazOn ink to make sure that these have a little pop to them. And I don't know why I'm showing you all 4 of these, but I guess because this is such a quick thing, it was easier just to do all 4 of them real quick. Alright, so we're going to move on from there, and I am going to go back to my canvas boards here, and with my watercolor pencils, I am going to try to accent that crackle. So I am just taking those watercolor pencils, again, one on each one of them, and just, coloring a couple little sections on there because I want to bring that exact same color that are on the cards onto that background. And this is how I'm doing it. And it's really just a slight accent, nothing major. And I'm activating it again with my water brush. And you could use a paintbrush if you don't have a water brush for all of these things. But the water brush to me is great because I don't have to keep going back again and again for water. Except when it gets a little dry and I have to do some squeezing. So once I get each of these, like I said, I'm gonna go through each of these. I'm also going to use a water-soluble graphite pencil. Here in just a second, you can see it on there. And I'm gonna just kind of color, and also a blending stump, or is that what it's called? I think it's called a blending stump. And kind of rub that on a couple areas where where the crackle is, because that charcoal gets down into the crackle and it just, I don't know, you see the crackle so much more. And I learned this from Tiffany of Southern Gals Designs. She is an amazing inspiration, and this is one tool one technique she uses quite often, and I absolutely love it. So, like I said, this is going to go on all 4 of these boards in the crackle. And I guess I could have wet that too, but it would have been harder to spread. So this you could do, I guess, also with maybe a charcoal and not just the graphite. But see how that crackle is standing up so beautifully? Awesome. I love it. Love it. Love it. Like I said, I'm moving on to the next ones. And then while those are sitting for a minute, I have pulled out a little bit of some kind of, I don't even know, string or yarn or something. And because I know I want accents at the top of my card or my tags, so I'm just coloring a little bit, and I'm using different inks. I think some Dynaflow for 2 of them, and then Liquitex inks for 2 of them, just because based on what colors I had available in my own stash. So, and I just put down a couple drops of the ink on that thread, whatever that stuff is, and I sprayed some water and kind of mixed up, and then I'm drying it off a little bit with just a paper towel, running it through there. And that was it. And I'm trying to keep my desk as clean as possible. My hands keep getting so messy. Now from here, I'm going back again. I keep alternating between things on this. I'm going back to my canvas boards, and I'm using a little bit of Distress Oxide in Black Soot. Now this becomes a problem because it took a really long time for it to dry because I wet it. And see, I'm trying to work with my water brush, and I don't know, it's not as big as I would have liked. So I do use a paintbrush for that. And I'm going through, but I'm going to go around all 4 corners of this. But the Distress Oxide ends up not really drying very quickly on here, and I'm going to get it on my hands in a little bit, and it spreads to one of the cards. I know the like pumpkin gesture, jack-o'-lantern card, it spread onto, and I had some issues with that. So make sure all your stuff is dry before you handle things, especially when it's reactive, like a lot of the distress stuff is. And I mean, and that's the reason I like the distress stuff, but it does react with water and reactivate sometimes, and like doesn't dry, and I was having a really hard time getting it to dry. So fair warning. Anyway, I did all 4 edges and kind of spread that out again. I'm just framing everything up, trying to give it an aged feel. And I think that's where I realized I had it on my hands. I was trying to be super careful. But this is where I thought it was dry. And you can see I've already gotten it from my finger onto that that tag. Anyway, what I'm using now are glitter markers from the Dollar Tree in coordinating colors for each of these. And I'm adding a couple accents right on where the color is. And there I'm showing you how I got my hands all messy. So I'm trying to clean them real quick. But I added some dots right on the ruffle on his hat. And then I'm going to go around the outside of the card and add some dots there just for a little more fun accent. And again, bringing that color back into it. So, and I'm sorry I didn't edit this part out, but yeah. So I am going to go in on that card and add some more black smudges on there to make it look like it's intentional, because I was really upset with myself about spreading it onto that card. So be really careful with that Distress Oxide. So here I am just going around with that glitter marker, adding just a little accent, little dots. I could have done stitch marks or whatever, and I could have left it, but I want these to be kind of fun, and so a touch of glitter sounded like the perfect thing. And here I'm going to show you, I've got, oh, and I also go around the outside of the reinforcer on the tag with just a black Sharpie pen, just to accent it a little. And then here I'm going to show you that I've got all 4 colors of the glitter markers I need. Now for that reinforcer at the top, I'm using, each one of these cards has different things. Some of them have lace on them, some of them have rickrack, but all of them have like a cotton thread and then two pieces of that really thin thread that I dyed, and it coordinates. And so I'm just putting that in half, matching up the ends and putting it in half, and putting the loop where I hafted it through my card, and then I'm pulling the rest through there just to make, and what do you call that, like a half hitch knot or something? I can't even think what it's called. Something like that, just something to accent this card a little bit. Now I'm pulling each of the threads, trying to tighten up that little knot there. And it was kind of hard because the rack kept catching, and that's the fun zigzag stuff. I love rickrack. That's up there at the that's the black on there, but it kept catching on the other threads in itself. So you see I'm coming back in here and trimming everything down and tightening that knot a little bit more. I don't know if you can see it there, but it had still a lot of give. And then evening everything up. Just like so. I don't know why I played with this for so long, but I did. Alright, so here is all 4 of them with all of their accents. Like I said, I added lace and rickrack and just different threads and fun stuff. Now I'm going to go back to the boards now, and I'm showing you I've got that Heidi Swapp spray again. I sprayed it on that one, and the mist was just so fun. It kind of darkened everything up, and I didn't like that. What I wanted when I sprayed it was some just big splatters. So that one is a little bit different than the other 3, because I ended up just using some black acrylic paint and a fan brush and watering down my acrylic paint and just doing a bit of a splatter effect right onto my canvas board. So I'm going to show you that one. You can't really see the big splatters as well as you can this next one. And I think adding a little bit of water, there. Some nice big fat splatters. And then I've got this Distress spray, and I think it's like aged brass or antique brass or something like that I'm also adding onto that. Again, I wanted these to be kind of fun, and a little sparkle metallic is absolutely perfect. Now here's a disclaimer. I am using a cordless Dremel for this, and I'm also wearing safety glasses, but my husband has advised me to tell you that a Dremel is not the best tool to drill. If you have a hand drill or a drill press or something like that, that's much safer than using the Dremel. But it's what I had in my studio right then, and I decided I was just going to use it. But I would give you that disclaimer: don't be like me. Be safe. Alright, so here I'm trying to put some mounting foam on the back of these tags, and one side of my mounting foam has lost its stick. The other side's perfectly sticky, but I couldn't get it to stay on the card. It kept sticking to my finger. It was awful. So I'm using some double-sided tape and putting that mounting foam down there, you know, because like I said, one side was still plenty sticky, but the other side just wasn't sticking. So that was my solution, because I wanted these to pop up off the card just a little bit. Now for this last part, I am taking some blackened steel wire and I'm wiping it down because sometimes it has a bit of a residue on it. And I don't even know how much I took. I knew it was plenty. And I'm inserting from the back that wire and just kind of wrapping around the wire around itself. Kind of making the loops a little big and decorative. And then I'm trimming it with that wire cutter. And then I'm going to take it and loop it around, just kind of curve that wire around to the other side and insert the wire into the other hole that I made with the Dremel. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to curve it up and wrap it kind of loosely around the wire. Now the other three, I did different effects with the wire. You can see that in the pictures, or I'll have other pictures over on my blog where you can get a better look at how I did the wire for these so that they will hang. Now, once I get those trimmed and everything, I am going to take a pair of chain nose pliers to press down those little ends because I don't like pokey wire ends on things. I am a jewelry maker, and that's kind of just a nitpicky thing for me. So I'm sticking those down, and that pretty much completes these wall hangings. If you like this, make sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And I know it's a little scattered throughout this thing, so if there's something I missed saying or anything you have questions about throughout this whole process, just let me know. I will answer those as best as I can. And I really do hope you like this. So thanks for watching, guys. All right, here's some better looks at these wall hangings, and y'all have a happy Halloween. Bye.